Hello, hello, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship Semifinals, Day 2. We got a whole nother group, guys. 3 more rounds of action, mayhem, and strategy coming your way. But first and foremost, per the usual, for those of you who aren't quite acquainted as to who we are, I'm Red Eyes, your ever-lovable and adorably cuddly caster, bringing you that daily dosage of butt-kickery, tomfoolery, and all-around shenaniganism. And I am not alone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joined by my main man, DK. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, dude, your intros never get old. I mean, it's always so entertaining to listen to. But what's up, guys? My name's DK, all the way from South Africa, getting ready for a little bit of the insanity that we are going to be seeing with our next group coming up. Yesterday, already quite an impressive day, especially looking at the performance that we had coming through from Ace of Spades. But as we know, right, this is day number 2, group number B. So we're expecting a lot of excitement to come in.
That's right, my man. We got 16 more teams competing, but they cannot all go on to the finals. Only 8 will advance from this. And guys, who is it going to be? Honestly, we got Puppeteer, we got Gods Reborn, Skills of Mine, Unidentified Humans, Just Team, Overhaul Esports, we got the Old Gangsters, Team Aces Esports, Forsaken Gaming, we got the Care Bears, Clips Before Chicks, Straight Out of Nepal, Nucleotide Vendetta, Quickstyle Esports, Strangers BD, and Team Seal. That's a lot of teams, but only half can make it, DK.
Yeah, some very, very interesting names we've got on the board as well. But of course, the teams are going to be playing for their share of the amazing prize pool, right? As we know, it is going to be $8,000 in total, if I'm not mistaken. So first place walks away with $2,300. That's second place picking up $1,800, and of course, third place picking up then $1,500. So a nice bit of cash, you know, to play for.
Yeah, even all the way down to 6th place, it's still $700. There's a lot of money on the table here, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of opportunity for these participants. And guys, these teams competed through some very intense qualifying rounds just to get to these semifinals. But only 3 matches is all it takes to decide who's going to advance to the finals, guys. We're going to be doing it with an Erangel, a Miramar, and then we're going to be concluding the day with the Sandhawk. So we're going to get a little bit of everything here. Erangel, that kind of balance of the extremes, Miramar, just a large map, and then Sandhawk to finish it off, that closed, condensed, lush forest.
Yeah, and of course, we are going to be hoping to see quite a bit of that consistency, right? It was pretty evident in the performance coming through from yesterday's team. So today we are going to be looking to see who will be that team that will be able to keep that consistency all the way through. Not only on the love child, as you would say, over on towards Erangel, but they have to then, you know, take it back to Miramar and, of course, right into jungle to get a little bit of that rumbling action going to show us who's going to be our teams to move through into that final stage.
You're 100% right, my brother. And the thing about that is that each map offers something completely different. A different geography, meaning absolutely different strategies need to be implemented. What worked so well on Erangel is not necessarily the ticket for a map like Miramar, and so on and so forth going into Sandhawk.
Yeah, so there is going to be that pressure, right? That expectation. And I mean, moving into our very first game, this is where we are going to be having that kind of expectation being set, right? This is the opportunity for the teams to showcase what we could be expecting come through into that Miramar and Sandhawk map, of course. But also then it is going to be that opportunity for the teams to also get through the kind of litmus test, right? We saw that yesterday, the first game usually being the one in where the teams are kind of exploring the options, trying to figure out what approach is going to work best. But yesterday, we had a super aggressive start coming right out of the gate.
That's exactly what I was just about to mention. I usually, and I said this yesterday, but when you get exposed to enough events like this, you kind of see a bit of a trend, and that's usually the first match of the day kinds to be the one where people are just dipping their toes in the water, trying to get a feel for how everyone's going to play. But that is not what we had yesterday, and I think the reason for that is that these are only 3 matches, man. There's only 3 matches to determine who's going to advance, and so every match counts so much. You know, one mistake could mean the difference between advancing or not.
Yeah, so there's going to be a little bit of pressure, right? A little smidgen of it, not too much, not too little. It's going to be that Goldilocks zone, right? It's going to be just the correct amount of pressure on these teams. But of course, we are going to be moving into our very first game to see exactly how these teams are going to be coping with that pressure coming through.
You're absolutely right, my man. Like, we are kicking off the day with the very first map ever introduced into the game. I am, of course, speaking about Erangel. Now, what exactly do we need to say about a map like Erangel? And you know the spiel, DK. It's basically the off-bred love child of Sandhawk and Miramar because it is the perfect middle ground between those two extremes, which does leave it fairly reliant upon that flight path to determine what sort of early game we actually end up getting.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be an interesting one indeed, right? I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a pressuring position with regards to where that first initial zone is going to be going. But also, you know, maybe a little bit of a more satisfactory flight path, right? Just to have that slight bit of an upset, right? Always keeps things interesting moving into that very first game.
Yeah, man, a flight path can determine a lot for the early game, but you know what? We don't have a whole lot of time to waste. I think we're about to go ahead and get into it, my man.
Yes, sir. We are indeed. Right. It does seem like we are going to be looking at a lovely southern flight path to start us off with.
Yeah, honestly, I know the participants were most likely hoping for a more centralized path, but us as casters, gotta say, I'm thrilled with a flight path like this. Why? Because it definitely limits our participants' initial drop spots, meaning that we might be due for some more early confrontation.
Yep, and it's really going to kind of enforce those tactics now to come into play, as the teams really have to be so much more decisive as to how they're going to be looking to get themselves positioned, where that zone is going to be going, and then what those rotational pathways will bring to get them situated up into the zone.
Absolutely. Their drop position could absolutely make or break them in a situation like this. You need to drop in a position where you and your team can all acquire a decent amount of loot, at least for the sake of getting properly armored and equipped for a gunfight. And if you aren't in that position where you get quote-unquote lucky in that situation, it could mean the end of the game.
Yeah, it could definitely, but I mean, looking at what that lovely, insane congestion we have heading towards Pmcc and Ruins, I think it's going to be quite the bumpy start towards that northern side.
You're absolutely right, my man. We got Gods Reborn dropping alongside the old gangsters, as well as Overhaul Esports over at the Pmcc area, and already we're getting some action just to the west. It looks like members of Forsaken Gaming having at it with Team Seal, and that is Daddy being wrecked in half by that DBS and then quickly run over for the Thirst.
I mean, we've got like half the lobby dropping at this position. I mean, this is just absolute carnage as the teams are getting into some really early game occasions here. But Forsaken Gaming now trying to quickly just, you know, pick up some form of loot before looking to turn their attention now to one of the players we've got off in the distance. So, you know, it is a pretty crazy start, but I'm looking forward to seeing where these teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated.
Yeah, honestly, if you are a lot of these teams and you realize, I'm sure when they were dropping in, they saw those parachutes. So what is the right move at a situation like this? Do you try to honestly get looted up and go for an early attack, or do you try to relocate early game and get to a position of safety?
I mean, it's a difficult one, right? I mean, you could try and play it both ways. I think ideally for this point, maybe try and get into a little bit more of a secured angle. I mean, it will provide a little bit more of that longevity, but we're going to see quite a bit of carnage now starting to come through, right? Not only do we have quite a few teams up in towards this Pmcc territory, but also the same is happening towards Malta side as well.
Yeah, we are getting quite a bit of early confrontation here. It looks like today is not going to be too much different from yesterday in terms of early action, and I'm very happy to see it, guys. Off to the eastern portion of zone, I can see members of unidentified humans in very close proximity to straight out in Nepal, so that looks like it could be something pretty promising to keep an eye on in the future. Currently, we got our eyes on our boys and old gangsters here, and as you can see, they're just still trying to get properly looted and equipped. We got our main man here with the UMP AK-47 combo, and that is a very good loadout to have fairly early on. That is a close quarter combat duo right there.
Yeah, so Verk now just trying to work their way through these buildings, right? Trying to get a bit of a position over towards that church, which you can see up on the hillside. But of course, based on what we can see on the map itself, it does seem like they have quite a bit of control coming into this Pmcc territory. So I think they're going to be sitting quite comfortably, right? The rest of the teams now towards that western side are also going to be trying to maybe just find a bit more of a safer position to start off their looting phase.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Only time will tell here. I can see up towards the northern portion of zone, it looks like Strangers BD in pretty close proximity to, I believe that's the Care Bears there. And I think if I zoom in just a little bit on my map, yeah, they've got a little bit of space. It looks like the Care Bears are going to be occupying those crates areas, and the apartments are going to go to Strangers BD. So I'm not so sure that that's going to amount too much early on or not. But we can see that Forsaken Gaming and Team Seal are still pretty close in proximity to one another. And that is why Team Seal, or I should say No, that's Team Seal. Just hanging out and laying low, kind of letting those numbers dwindle down in the distance and trying to get a little bit of better placement off the board.
Yeah, but I mean, also looking at the positioning we have towards that eastern side, there could be quite a few interesting rotations to come through. I mean, still quite a bit of positioning to be had onto the zone itself. So the team's pretty much having free reign at this point in time, right? They can really move in, get themselves separated, get themselves set up also, and then worry about what that zone is going to bring.
Yeah, and speaking of what that zone brings, goodness knows that a huge portion of the zone is occupied by water. What does that mean for our participants, ladies and gentlemen? It seems obvious, but yeah, it leaves them with a lot less territory that they can cover. It leaves them with less potential options in terms of compounds or location, and so that means we are due for some extra action.
Yeah, but I definitely want to see a little bit of that the blubber duck action come through today, right? For those who don't know, the blubber duck is what I call that one of the skins that we have for the boats, right? It really looks like a blubber duck. It's not a rubber duck, it's a blubber duck.
That actually is my active boat skin right now. So yes, I love that one too. Guys, it looks to me like, yes, we are left with a little bit of a slower start than it initially looked to be. That's totally okay, guys. And you want to know why? It's because I always say a more passive early game is guaranteed to mean one thing, and that is a more action-packed and climactic mid or end game. So it's definitely going to be worth the trade if you ask me.
Yeah, of course, still quite a few positions that can be occupied, especially down towards that southern side, right? So looking at the teams that we have in a good lineup towards that is going to be none other than Overhaul Esports, who already occupy that entire military island. So they can just casually stroll towards that western bridge and not having to worry too much. I'm also curious to see what skills of mind are going to be bringing in, as they still have the furthest distance to travel to get themselves secured into the zone.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about a late rotation into zone, it all kind of depends on the stage of the game that you're in. And currently, as it is, with this many teams, you know, already working their way in, I still think Skills of Mine has a bit of time because they can work their way in and still have a little bit of space between themselves and Straight Out of Nepal and Unidentified Humans. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a worry for them yet. But come in game, a late rotation into zone could absolutely mean the end of the game for you if you were not able to claim that real estate like the other teams are.
Yeah, but I think this is a really good position now for Forsaken to be holding onto, right? They've got the majority of that northern territory relatively open, and that it will allow them to focus most of their efforts towards that southern side, right, on the defensive line. And as we can see, they do have a few potential contenders that could maybe look to contest them for their current lineup or current positioning. But again, still allows them a great opportunity to really utilize the space.
Yeah, and as you can see, we got members of, it looks like Puppeteer beneath them. However, Puppeteer is kind of a spread out approach here. Looks like a little bit of every man for himself, and now that comes with obvious advantages and disadvantages. I feel like they're both kind of obvious, but let's just go ahead and say it. The advantage is that you're not all going to be taken down in one spray. The disadvantage is that you're not really there to help out your teammates as easily in the case that confrontation does ensue.
Yeah, I think that is going to be quite an interesting one to see, you know, how this whole situation kind of unveils itself, right? In the meantime, it is going to be Victor there from Team Seal, or Vibhor, all right? I said Victor. I'm going to go with Victor because, well, you know, they are definitely not the Victor here as they get taken out by Black.
Yeah, that Seal is done for. That's Forsaken Gaming putting, that's Black putting his first kill up on the board and the team's second. Not a bad start when you maintain all 4 players and get some early kills. Oh, it does look like we might get a little confrontation here. That looks like, is that Envy? That might be Nucleotide, Vendetta, just beneath members of the Just team.
Ooh, I mean, we just gotta have to wait and see, indeed, right?
Yeah, and we also are keeping our eyes here. Straight Out of Nepal, just trying to get a little bit of a rotation. All the while, it does look like Puppeteer might be beginning to engage with someone.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like it is going to be the Care Bears now feeling that pressure as they are holding on to the edge of Quarry. But this is the opportunity now for Puppeteers to really double down on the efforts. Already finding a bit of a great angle here, as you can see. Dari now out in the open. Up comes the rush with the vehicle following through, not managing to get that knock in. But a quick trade down comes through as Cold Pants gets taken on down. And now Dari really just laying it on so thick.
Yeah, L11. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. I saw it as L11, but just a monster with that barrel. M762 wrecking into his opponent. It was a quick knock, and that's to be expected at this point. Now it's all riding on Nulse for Puppeteer. What is he going to do? It looks like he is going to approach the confrontation here and try to assist his fallen teammates.
Ooh, very, very dangerous push coming in. Let's see whether or not they can find this angle, though.
Yeah, but he's got that UMP-45, that close quarter combat annihilator, and case and point just wrecks into his opponent. And he only took, I guess maybe about 60% damage in the process. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
ooh, Omega
not too costly.
Yeah, Overhaul facing off against Gods Reborn. We see Wolf ready and waiting with that Tommy gun in hand, just holding position, waiting for his opponent to push their way out. And it looks like he's got Hellfire on his mind as he prepares to rain a utility nade.
Well, they've got the potential numbers at this point, right? All they got to do now is just try and line up those angles. It is going to be a slight bit of a push. I mean, Wolf really on the front line does feel a bit of that pressure as the shots now connect on through. Out comes the full send. Oh, and a very, very risky play.
Yeah, but talk about a well-timed prone. That prone is probably what saved him from being knocked right there and then. But, ooh, we're raining Hellfire quite literally at this point as Mollies go in and dealing out some pretty significant damage. We got nades being thrown in retaliation, but not quite meeting the mark there. Wow, this is kind of surprising to see this close of a proximity nade fight.
Yeah, it's definitely not too often that we see this really happening. Now, right, the pressure is on. Omega going to be trying to hold on to that slide off angle. Going to be waiting to see if they can line up these positionings. But now, here we go, right? Overall, about to receive a few more. Wolf cooks up that nade, tries to find a bit of an opportunity. Now, quickly abandons that, but instead, the shots connect on through. And this is now all down to Omega from Overhaul to continue. Maybe bring in that res, but of course, expecting quite a bit of these utilities to come through now.
Yeah, you know, with all the pressure riding on you, ooh, goodness gracious. It looks like Wolf was able to finish the job with that nade, and case in point, that is going to go to Gods Reborn, securing their first 2 kills on the board. And it did not come without a price per se. I believe Dark was lost in the process. I could be incorrect about that. But if so, you know, 2 kills on the board, 1 death, a little bit of a risky trade this early on, but you got to take what you can get. Oh, Jaden of the Care Bears annihilated there by Nulse. And you got to give him credit because as a solo at that point, he does end up getting the save on his teammate. And look at Cold Pants' health, barely surviving by the hair on his chin.
Yeah, I mean, they were holding on by the rim of their pants on that one. So, you know, good play on them surviving the initial push. But now the work begins again, right? Because we can see them situated towards that northern side, with the majority of their teams focused down towards that more centralized band. So depending on where the zone could be shifting, there could be quite a bit of traveling that they now need to do to get themselves secured.
Yeah, and looking at the map as it stands with this zone currently, I'm going to say I'm giving the credit to Nucleotide Vendetta, Just Team, and also to Gods Reborn just for claiming that coastal territory. And the reason being is because they don't really need to amount too much to their backside. After they realize that the military island is not occupied any longer, then they really only have to worry about their sides and front at this point. So they're giving themselves one less angle to worry about. Just seems to be a little bit more advantageous and just coincidental that it happens to be closer towards the center of zone.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only close for now, and with that zone shift, they're hopping slightly over to the eastern part, right? I mean, still a good positioning that we see for majority of our teams already situated within the zone, but now is where the hard work starts, especially for the teams towards the west. They need to try and squeeze into already crammed zone.
And compound cover at this point is becoming limited, meaning that claiming early real estate could be of the utmost importance, as we mentioned earlier. Now, also to note, the top western portion of zone does have that mountainous region. I'm curious to see if anyone is going to go for that high ground cover, trying to get that overwatch. And if so, they might just have a view on members of Clips Before Chicks.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I am noticing. I am noticing the players on Clips Before Chicks. They got Coops of the Pittsburgh Knights and 24K of Wall Street bets on this team. That is an all-star lineup, to say the least.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, it's going to be so satisfying to see them really doing their things, you know, just showcasing the talents out on the field. But for the meantime, we are going to be looking over on towards Nucleotide, right, to see if they could maybe line up a bit of a position on towards the Just team. We can see Ferrari and the rest of the squad just holding on to that hard cover.
Yeah, and Chills resting ready and waiting with that 3x M4 at the ready, and it looks like he's just single tapping away. Unfortunately, not getting the connecting damage he was hoping for, but even if he were able to secure that knock there, I am doubtful of the ability to acquire a thirst with them having that compound.
Well, I mean, it's still going to be a little bit of a push, right? Fortunately for them, the artillery there does really provide at least some sufficient hard cover. So, I mean, it's not going to be the worst position. But speaking about tough positions, though, we jump over onto with Strangers, and they are just laying it on so tough onto the players here coming through from the side of Skills of Mind. And, I mean, down to 2 they go.
Yeah, unfortunately for Skills of Mind, it looks like they are the focal point for 2 teams, not just Strangers BD, but also Nucleotide Vendetta was firing away and got a takedown on one of them, and that is absolutely got to change up their strategy. With everything riding on JP and Bomba at this point, you would think that you got to play a bit more of a reserve standpoint. Unfortunately for these guys, they are already spotted by Strangers. They are already their focal point, and so I don't know what kind of options they really have at this point other than holding position.
Yeah, I mean, there could be maybe a bit of an opportunity, as we do see Undefined Humans also, you know, up in the mix as well. So this could definitely seal the fate now for Strangers. We can see Volt gets confirmed on through as the players here from Undefined now continue to move in from that western side. But still, right, quite a bit of distance to cover. They're not entirely secured within that zone just yet.
Yeah, it looks like Volt kind of suffered the consequences of a 3-1 split. You know, just being that far away from his team kind of illuminates that point I was making earlier. You know, you aren't going to have your whole team taken out in one spray, but, you know, you had nobody there to help them. And that is kind of the risky trade-off when you make that 3-1 split. But anyways, we got unidentified humans as they work in. They've got members of Nucleotide Vendetta in front of them, and we see 5911 here ready and waiting. 3x M4 trying to get that high ground position, see if he can get some shots on him.
Oh, this is going to be risky. This is going to be risky. Such an exposed position, and this is definitely where the unidentified humans are going to be looking to just capitalize on the slight elevation they have. But of course, the blue zone is going to be applying quite a bit of that pressure on towards them. The zone moving not too far away from them, so there's still that opportunity to maybe secure a bit of a positioning. But first, they need to work right through Nucleotide.
Yeah, Bird probably with the right idea there, trying to prioritize the revive on his fallen teammate, and it looks like they actually might be into trading revives there as Nucleotide Envies tries to do the same. Unfortunately for them, Just Team does catch eyes and they are firing away. We see Jakun here with that M4 3X combo. He was spraying at him. I didn't see a whole lot of connecting damage there.
Yeah, it's a really tough angle to play at, but now we have a beautiful opportunity out on the beach. It is going to be a spray down, finding quite a bit of damage into that vehicle, but not sufficiently so to really put a stop to that rotation. In the meantime, Just Team going to be looking to just refortify their numbers, right? They want to bring all 4 players back into the fight. We can see Joy's 4K now having that race come in their direction.
Yeah, and we see Chopper here of Just Esports holding position, just trying to let these numbers dwindle down. He's not even too concerned about these teams that are rotating around. He's firing away, you know, as they go by, but he's really not too worried about them. He's holding position and letting these numbers dwindle down, trying to get better placement here for his team. All the while, we've got members of Straight Out in Nepal. King firing away with that Scar L, just wrecking house there. Oh my goodness. And now Chopper going in after Sani in the distance. Ferrari aiming in with a 6x M4. It looks like he does have a knock on D2, trying to acquire a thirst from that point.
Yeah, I mean, that could be such a phenomenal position being held here by Ferrari. Definitely looking to rev up the pressure here. But, I mean, still, they're trying to get themselves situated. They've got 2 players in the zone, 2 players just on that very edge. And now, Nucleotide going to be creeping onto that southern edge. And this is where this ridge could really pay them great dividend.
I got to agree with that. I'd say the same for Nucleotide Vendetta and also for Gods Reborn, for the same reason that I said earlier about having that backside kind of accounted for. That water behind them means that that's less ground that they need to survey. And so it really could be an advantageous position for them. But as you mentioned earlier, it is on the very outskirts of zone, and it is very likely that that zone shift is going to mean that they are going to have to rotate.
Well, let's see what that zone is going to bring for them. I mean, it's getting closer, right? It is almost entirely closed up, but we still see the shots now from Nucleotide focusing onto the Just team. But I'm liking this awareness being shown here by Chills. Not going to be settling for what they've got. Instead, they are going to be trying to secure even more information before making any potential advances.
Yeah, caution does seem to be the name of the game at this point. This is kind of where those numbers can really start to drop on the map. This, 20 to 25 minute mark seems to be when a lot of teams get depleted here. And so this is a great time to actually hold position. Unfortunately, as I just mentioned, that zone being... they were on the very edge of it, and so yes, it does not favor them when it shifted, and so they are going to end up having to rotate in. But luckily for them, it does seem like Just Team and Unidentified Humans are a little preoccupied focusing on each other. So this is the time for Nucleotide Vendetta to make their move.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one, but of course, as we know, right, smack dab center zone is going to be Clips before Chicks, trying to apply the pressure now, finding the angles as they do send it across. It is, of course, Puppeteers now feeling the brunt of that. But again, such a dominating angle being held here in center zone. Not quite sure where the Just team is going to be able to get themselves secured in towards.
Well, I got to say, if you're Just Team and one of your teammates gets knocked by Coops, that is the intimidation factor of the game. Coops is just renowned in the NA scene. Everybody knows him. He is just undeniably amazing at this game. He is one of the top tier players in the NA comp scene. And so, yeah, you better be playing cautiously. That guy does not miss often.
Well, at least you know what to expect when Coops is in the lobby, right? When you know he's nearby, maybe just try to stay out of the way or something, or, play the best possible hits that you can, line them up like we just saw come through from Ferrari there. But this is a great opportunity now for the Just team to rush on forward and maybe try and create a bit of an opening.
Even more so, along with what you said, Clips before Chicks just started off as a 3-piece, it looks like. So that means they've only got 2 members up, and if there was ever a time to strike, that would be it, when you get Coops down.
Well, let's see how this one plays out. In the meantime, there's going to be Gods Reborn just inching their way towards that southern side of zone. I mean, a great position where they can, of course, now apply quite a bit of pressure, heading straight across to the teams moving further on forward. But look up towards the northern side, right? The Just team, they found that knock, but not going to be looking to capitalize on it just yet.
And this is what I was talking about just a few minutes ago, that this 20 to 25 minute mark, maybe 26 minute mark, is where teams just drop. This is where the bodies really hit the floor, and now is the time to really take advantage. And as you can see, Revenge pulling up on the Nucleotide Vendetta guys. He's got 2 members knocked, I believe, potentially even 3, and here comes the nade. Boom, baby. Boom, baby.
It
Talk
is
about killing multiple birds.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple birds, 1 stone, very efficient. And that's Revenge with his first 3 kills. And look at this, Strangers with 5 on the board. Then we got straight out of Nepal, still 3 members up, 4 kills going. We got Seon Min approaching his opponents in Gods Reborn. And look at that, quick knocks like fish out of a barrel.
Yeah, I mean, straight out of Nepal, really holding a good angle, but still quite a bit of work that needs to be done, right? They're not secured in zone just yet, so curious to see where they're going to be looking to push in towards. But, I mean, Gods Reborn also going to be holding on to the slight southern edge. Such a difficult position to play from.
Yeah, and the zone has shifted, and it's favoring one team and one team only, and that's Clips before Chicks with two of the top-rated players in NA. That is just, I mean, I'm sure a little frustrating, at least, for the other participants. But as you can see, we got judges of Clips before Chicks. He's got a knock on Ferrari and Joyce, and he's going to make it rain hellfire to try to acquire some early thirsts.
Yeah, now Just Team really getting caught in such a sticky spot, but up comes the push now, straight on the pole, gonna come rushing straight on in, looking to maybe secure themselves a little bit of a compound here, but Coop's gonna be inching their way on through, picking up Sunbin with a beautiful DBS hit.
Yeah, a DBS hit through a window into another house. That's pretty impressive. We got Revenge of Strangers BD. He's doing some work here on the Just team. It looks like Judges does get the takedown on a member of Gods Reborn. That's Vortex going down. Chopper holding position behind the shack with very little health to speak of. Gonna try to get that first aid off, all the while Judges getting ready to rain hellfire.
Oh, up comes the push. There's going to be Chopper around the corner to find the hit. It's going to be Judges to get taken on down. And now Clips before Chicks down to only 2. Of course, there's going to be 24K and good old Coops now to defend the honor in that zone.
Yeah, and 24K definitely does not disappoint with performance here. He's got 4 kills to his name. That is not light work. And here we see Strangers BD. They're going to be holding position here on the rooftop while the Clips before Chicks guys occupy 2 different houses here. And I think, yeah, they don't have to move at all. They have a perfect position even in this new zone.
Wow. I mean, what a gracious position that is indeed. Now, Strangers will be trying to play all the different angles. Look at the sprays, Loris. G9 just lines it up. It's going to be Ferrari to get taken on down. Chopper going in for that res. But still, right, the Just Team having a bit of a play, right? They still have quite a bit of compounds to utilize here.
Yeah, they do have a little bit of cover, and that is their saving grace at this point, for sure. But time is of the essence. They have a smidgen of a way to work their way into zone, but very little time to do it, and very little cover to take. And that is Turn from Forsaken Gaming being eliminated, and his team as well taken out in 4th place.
Yeah, it was their turn, right? Definitely got to be that. And of course, now as we look over on towards Strangers, they're still going to be trying to play a bit of a position coming in from the southern edge. We got the Clicks before Chicks holding on to the edge, but now that zone goes into such a challenging position. Look at this already, right? Clips before Chicks sitting on 10 eliminations already, hitting those double digits.
Yeah, I'm seeing people in the chat just putting a little bit of hype on the Coops guy, calling them boops. All right, guys. Coops trying to make it rain a couple nades there. Going to use this opportunity to get a little bit more equipped with ammo, kind of restore his arsenal. And as you can see, 24K with no shortage of utilities. Oh, my goodness. Talk about one nade that could have ended everything if it had just hit the mark.
Oh, I mean, it's so close. But let's see, 24K now trying to line it up. Oh, so close to hitting the spot right there. And just not going to be budging just yet, right? They are going to be holding strong. But this is where things get a little bit risky. So we can see Coops now sending out the nade, forcing a bit of a dash here. Ferrari going to be taking the opportunity to move on forward. It is Jikun now getting hit on the outside there. Oh, beautiful retaliation from Ferrari. Oh, but it is going to be Coops to meet their end.
Wow, you got to give credit for the Just team. They really just made, I don't know if it was intentional, but if it was, probably the most intelligent play of this game. They sacrificed their pawn to take out the big bad Coops there, and it worked perfectly. Oh, unfortunately for them, 24K just laying waste and causing absolute mayhem as he acquires 7 of his team's 13 kills. Look at him go! Even in a 1v3 scenario, you gotta give him credit. But ultimately, in the end, it was not enough, and Strangers BD acquire the dub.
Yeah, I mean, well done to Strangers BD on that one. I mean, they came in with the numbers. They just leveraged that to their advantage. And I mean, picking up that winner chicken dinner is going to serve them pretty well. But I'm pretty sure that, you know, Clips before Chicks are also going to be quite satisfied with those 13 eliminations alongside the placement points they just secured.
Yeah, and as we said multiple times yesterday, you know, placement is extremely important. It's imperative, but it is not going to take you the full way, most likely, to advancing to the finals. That means you are gonna have to be aggressive at some point. You are going to have to be ready to take on those fights. And boy, was Clips Before Chicks ready. Entering as a 3-piece and taking home 13 kills is no small potatoes. But Strangers BD putting up a great performance and going for that long haul, taking the dub with 6 kills. That's nothing to wag your finger at either.
Yeah, but I also got to say, the Just team also really playing quite an interesting position, right? They were able to hold on to that zone for quite some time. And that makes me excited to see how this is going to then translate over into our coming 2 matches.
And again, just to add on to what you're saying about the Just team, I just mentioned it, but the play that they pulled in that very last minute of the match, where they essentially just sacrificed one of their members to be kind of the meat focal point for Coops, and just had the other guy come right into the house casually 2 feet away from Coops to take him out. That was a very impressive play. It might have even changed the circumstances of the game and might be the reason Strangers BD was able to come in that clutch, but that's not to discredit them. But I gotta say, that was a pretty impressive play from the Just team, and so let's give them credit. Even with a 3rd place, only 3 kills on the board, that 3rd place is gonna help.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari was definitely on fire in that play. I mean, picking up that 1 elimination, but I think it was the important elimination to pick up, right? Securing a good angle for the continuation to come through. But again, right, a super aggressive start coming into match number 1. I mean, yes, we did have a little bit of that hot drop action. It kind of dissolved ever so slightly, only to build into even more insanity as we moved into those later phases.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep my eye as we move into Miramar on the Unidentified Humans, Skills of Mine, and Puppeteer, because those are guys finishing that 9th to 11th place bracket, just right on the cusp of advancement. You got to know that they have got everything riding on these next 2 matches. Only 2 matches at this point to determine if you're going to go forward. That means you have to make everything count. There's very, very little room for error at this point.
Yeah, but that's also so exciting. And of course, speaking about excitement, it's going to be 24K to pick up our MVP for this match, right? Locking in those 7 eliminations rather, and 710 damage. I mean, so that conversion rate looking absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, that's probably the best conversion rate we've seen in a long time. Guys, if you aren't familiar with what we're talking about their kills to damage ratio. For every kill, it's essentially 100 damage that you have to deal to knock somebody. So this means that 24K literally only did 10 extra damage that wasn't due or leading at some point to a kill.
Well, I mean, that's pretty impressive, whichever way you look at it. But of course, then we are going to be moving into our most valuable team. It's no surprise to see the Clips by Chicks coming in here with those 13 eliminations and 2,300 damage being dealt.
Yeah, what is more to add on to this is that Clips by Chicks entered as a 3-person team. They came in at an automatic disadvantage and just annihilated the playing board. So yeah, 2,300 damage is ridiculous. 13 kills is ridiculous. 9 assists is ridiculous. But let's just add on the fact that they entered with 1 less person on their team on top of everything. And guys, this is the damage report. Our top 4 teams in terms of damage, obviously Clips by Chicks is going to be leading the playing board with 2,300, as we just spoke about. Strangers BD, the gold medal winner for round 1, taking home 1,336 damage. We got Gods Reborn with 1,067 damage, and Straight Out Nepal with 743.
Oh, some pretty impressive figures coming through. But as we know, right, that is only the very first match of the day. So we still have 2 more to go. And I'm curious to see just how far these numbers are going to be pushed up. But also, we know we are going to be expecting quite a bit of carnage to happen over onto that Miramar map as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As we had said at the beginning of the day, you know, every map has a completely different geography, and that entails a completely different strategy. And I am so curious to see how Clips by Chicks is going to enter into Miramar, if they're going to come in as a 3-piece again. Guys, this is a extremely sniper-intensive map as we enter Miramar. There's tons of open space, and that in a situation like that, you have to be not alert of just your immediate surroundings, but your distant surroundings as well. And entering in as a 3-person team is going to make things a bit tricky. But as we can see, those 3 guys know how to put in the work.
Oh yes, oh yes. And speaking about the work, right, we are going to be taking a look at a beautiful head-to-head here. There's going to be Strangers DB up against the clips by chicks coming in, and I mean the damage only differential being only separated by 1,000, right? But the eliminations also not too far apart. I mean, yes, we do nearly see double, just a little bit over double the eliminations coming through there for clips by chicks. But I mean, the assists really there, those headshots also locking in as well as those knocks.
Yeah, two great performances, but it is hard to not differentiate the two. Clips by Chicks surviving 4 seconds fewer than Strangers BD, but putting in literally over double the amount of kills and almost twice the amount of damage. That's no small potatoes. And look at the assist difference. It is quite drastic. But as we said, this is a different ball game as we enter match 2, and Strangers BD just might have a different strategy ready and waiting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what exactly that strategy is going to come, you know, that Miramar map. But of course, you know, that is going to be the end of our head-to-head as we are getting ready for that next bit of breakdown, right? Looking at the eliminations and the damage chart. Again, no surprise to see Clips by Chicks sitting right at the front there, but still a really strong push coming through from the Just team as well. Looking at the sheer amount of damage they were able to secure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like, you know, that 6 kills, as we said, that's nothing to wag your finger at, guys. That's a pretty healthy number of kills for a match, especially, you know, considering the player board here. Everyone, as we said, has competed very toughly to get to this point. They worked pretty darn hard to get to these semifinals. So they're up against a pretty tight-knit group of teams. So anything above that 5 mark range, I think is a pretty healthy number of kills. So when we look at Clips for Chicks, we are looking at a bit of an outlier here. You know, you can sort of just see a drastic spread there between them and the remainder of the group here, but you can sort of see that 6-5-4 performance. It's pretty darn healthy to have that 5-6 kill amount, I'd say. Especially moving forward, you know, it's a healthy position to enter into match 2. I'd say at that point, really the name of the game is sort of maintaining that momentum. If you're a team like Strangers BD, you know, it's riding that confidence, not letting it border on cockiness. You are aware that you are up against some very heavy hitters, but what you're doing here is working. That strategy that they're implementing is working. And Strangers BD, you know, if my memory is serving correct, they were, I believe, 0 kills on the board considerably into the match, and then they really started capitalizing come in-game. And I would say that that might be the strategy that I would root for them to use again for match 2.
Yeah, I think that could be a really good strategy for them to try and utilize. I mean, they look so comfortable playing that one out. So, you know, maybe we could see that then come through on towards Miramar and Sanok. But only time will reveal those final results. And of course, speaking about that, this is going to be the 25 points for our team up in pole position. Only 4 points ahead of where we see Strangers DB.
That is somewhat surprising to me. You know, I didn't run the numbers in my head, but yeah, Strangers BD is actually just on the tail of Clips by Chicks. It is only a 4-point differential. They have a very decent shot at coming back from that and getting that gold medal. And you know, well, it does drop a quite considerable amount to the Just team in 3rd place. You got to note that what separates 3rd place from 6 is literally only 3 points. That's when things start to get pretty tight-knit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty tight one. And of course, we can see only one team taking a stop over at the bakery. That, of course, is going to be the players there from Team Seal. So also going to be expecting to see a bit of that comeback, right? Still 2 maps. So waiting to have Team Seal really looking to, you know, lock in as many of these points as they can, making their way through our final two games of the day. So, you know, the bar has been set. Now we need to see who's going to be looking to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, man, only time will tell, and I am just realizing that I did not... Oh, I did make it into the... Oh, no! Uh-oh. As soon as I entered the map, well, I hate to say it, I'm going to have to find a nade and nade myself because I am definitely on one of the teams for this one. So that is not ideal whatsoever. Tell you what, I'm just going to let it ride out to the end of the plane and go into the water. But as we move forward into Miramar, what do we need to be looking out for? Okay, the breakdown. It's essentially the largest map that we have in the game. Now, technically, Erangel is the exact same size, being an 8x8, but realistically, that includes Erangel's bodies of water. And so, yeah, realistically, Miramar is the largest map that we're working with, meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other is just going to be a bit slimmer. But as we mentioned earlier, it is the most open map that we have in the game. Now, what do I mean when I say open? I mean sniper intensive. The odds of you being sniped from 300 meters away is just exponentially higher than it is on other maps. And the third and final thing that we gotta say is that this map is so large that it finds itself very reliant upon the flight path to actually determine what sort of early game we end up getting.
Yeah, but I think what also makes Miramar so exciting is, you know, the vast ability coming through from the terrain and how the teams can really position themselves so close to the opposition and then choose that opportune moment to strike. So we're going to be looking at what those strategies are going to be coming through rather over on towards Miramar. And of course we know, right? We're only a few moments away from jumping straight into the action.
Yeah, only time will tell who is going to take home the dub for the desert map. As we enter round 2, we got 30 seconds left on the board, but guys, let's buckle up because it's going to get pretty wild. However, this is, as I said, a map that is extremely reliant upon that flight path to determine what sort of early game we get. And so that means, yes, we might be left with a bit of a slower start off the bat. But if that just so happens to be the case, that's going to be okay because we are going to get that more action-packed and climactic mid or in-game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all going to come down to what that flight path will be bringing on through. And we are going to be jumping straight on in to see where that flight path will be taking us. It does seem like we could have something close to that the eastern side, rather, starting towards Al Azhar, making its way right in between Pozo and Monte Nuevo, as we can see right there on the map. So a slightly northern flight path coming through, but still allowing pretty good access towards some of those southern positions.
Yeah, and I am absolutely, my heart is beating a little too fast right now because this flight path does not fly over the water, which is not good if a caster were to just so happen to not make it into the spectator slot in time. That would not be ideal. But hopefully I do not afford any free kills. I'm sure if that anyone does get me, it's not going to count. But as it stands, if you are one of the participants, this flight path is about as ideal as it gets. And the reason being for that is not just because of it being so centralized. It's also because of this little kind of northeast to southwest line of channels of compounds that go from Campo Militar all the way down to Valle del Mar. And the reason being, it's got just nothing but compounds on either side. So it's going to afford a lot of compound cover, a lot of options for our participants right off the bat. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get into it.
Well, a very exciting start with that zone sitting all the way over to the eastern side. I mean, already it seems like about 40% of that zone is going to be water. So you were talking about a spicy positioning, right? That is exactly what we've got here. And it's quite exciting to see how the teams are now going to be looking to get themselves repositioned in towards such a limited zone.
Yeah, and we are getting eyes on our first group. We can see that they're already getting a nice early loot, but look, we have a confrontation already on our hands here. Yep, it's the Care Bears up against the likes of the Just team.
I mean, Care Bears already having that first edition knock come through. Now, the Just team looking to try and find a bit of a point to capitalize on here.
Yep, and here we go. Jaden taking a huge hit of damage, brought down to just below half health there. And that is the takedown by Ferrari with that close quarter combat annihilator, the UMP-45.
Absolutely beautiful to see that come through, but now it is going to be up to the rest of the Care Bears to find a bit of a position, right? Pretty close, but still a bit of that separation coming through. You do see Dari being much further away towards that western side, and now, of course, we are going to be taking a bit of a jump just slightly east towards the Puppeteers. Also, trying to find a bit of an approach on towards the old gangsters.
Yeah, and Obor with an UMP of his own, doing significant damage there to Berg, taking him down to about 1/5 of his overall health, and there it is, Fang from Puppeteer to finish the job that his teammate started.
Well, beautiful approach coming in indeed, but now Puppeteer's not out of the woods just yet. Still have Dude up ahead. Now, could this be Feng trying to lock in yet another elimination? I mean, they've hopped into the vehicle, got that mobility coming through now. We are going to be seeing a slight bit of a send come in here, but isn't going to be that full-on aggressive front now from the side of the Puppeteers.
Well, only time will tell. We got Nulse coming in, UMP at the ready, and he just wrecks into Dude. Absolutely annihilating and taking minimal damage in the process. SLR at the ready, and it looks like he's going to switch right on back to the UMP here. Holding position. It looks like Puppeteer's in a fairly strong position here. All the while, the old gangsters have Pistol doing a little bit of Overwatch here with that mini UMP combo of his own.
I mean, that's an interesting loadout, though.
It is, kind of. I was just sort of thinking that. And he's going to use this opportunity to try to relocate, get a little bit closer in proximity to his teammate, Katri.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision to come through here from Pistol. Just trying to maybe just, you know, bring in a bit of a quick rescue there. Meanwhile, as we jump back over to Clips by Chicks, going to be looking to really solidify their position up into Picardo. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a challenging angle. As we can see, they do have some opposition here. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the way through, but it is, of course, going to be the players there from Team Aces Esports now trying to just meet them with the challenge that they are trying to set.
I'm just looking at Coops just very casually. He's not even prioritizing a thirst here. Calm, patience, and he's ready. He's ready for any approach here, and it looks like that's a good thing because members of Team Aces are approaching. Oh, Fears coming from the side, getting a quick takedown with that M4, and he's already got 2 kills on the board here.
Yeah, Minato now being caught in between a rock and a hard place as we do see Fears moving closer and closer. It's going to be Coops down for the time being. But now, could this be that saving play? Quite a bit of pressure coming in, and that is going to be Minato absolutely obliterated.
Yeah, I got to say, these Clips by Chicks, it's just an all-star lineup. We got members of the Panthers coming in now to join Wall Street Bets and the Knights. It's starting to get pretty intense here. And Fierce is going to be able to stick the revive on his fallen teammate Coops, and that is bad news for everyone else on the board. Ooh, it looks like Nucleotide is already in a bit of a conundrum here as they've got members of Gods Reborn inside the zone with an opportunity to gatekeep on Nucleotide. It could amount to a confrontation. However, it is in the Los Leones area where there is plenty of compound cover to utilize.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about what about Nucleotide's positioning there. I mean, they could easily just rotate their way on through either north or south, right? They could really just capitalize on those compounds. But as we look over on towards the players here from Overhaul coming through on that far southern edge, I mean, taking a bit of a risky rotation in the party bus. It's not ideally equipped to really handle the terrain, but either which way, right? It will get you much, much closer towards that zone.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just try to imagine somebody in one of these Volkswagen buses just driving through the desert, off-roading it, what that would actually be like here. But Omega doing what he's got to do here, making his way in a rotation alongside his teammate. And guys, keep in mind, Overhaul at this point is, I believe, operating as a two-piece. Keep in mind, I do not have the spectator position in this match, but I do believe that they are still just a two-piece, and that's not that glitch at all. They are operating as a two-person team, which is going to put them at an immediate disadvantage here compared to everyone else on the board, meaning that they are going to have to dial things back considerably. Any aggressive gameplay that they had in mind should probably take a more conservative approach, at least for maybe the first half to 3/4 of the match.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough role for them to you know, put up quite a bit of a tactful force or tactful position. But I mean, we are still having quite a few teams moving through from that western angle, so who knows, maybe we could see Overall Esports secure themselves in towards Impala or something along that eastern coastline.
Yeah, looks like we got two potential confrontations. We got members of Unidentified Team and the Just Team, Unidentified Team and Skills of Mind having at it right here. And there's 5911 spraying away with that M4. His opponent, D2E, his teammate D2E, ready and waiting with a Scar L of his own as members of Skills of Mind work their way on by. D2E making his shot, doing considerable damage, and he does secure the knock. Escape is hopeless.
Oh, yes. I mean, that was a beautiful spray down coming through from undefined humans. But now, right, a little bit of that retaliation could maybe make its way on through. It unfortunately does seem like the players there from the side of, well, the Skills of Mind are instead going to be opting for a little bit more of a western approach, heading towards that southern edge, trying to really circumvent the undefined humans. But still, right, both teams are going to be heading in the direction of zone. It's all now going to come down to where they are going to find that entry point.
Yeah, and right now is, so early on in game. We're reaching that 8.5-minute mark. The zone is really not the main contender for these opponents at this point. The dead zone is not so detrimental that you have to move immediately. But guys, as this match progresses, as this match goes on a little bit longer, that zone is going to absolutely start dealing out more and more and more damage. And I say this every time, I don't care how good of a player you are, nobody, and I mean nobody, has as high of a KD as that blue zone.
Yeah, I mean, the big old blue zone being quite a formidable force, as we know. But I gotta say, I really like the position being held there by Gods Reborn, right up in towards Impala. It is going to allow them a great vantage point to play from. But as we can see, they do have a few potential visitors heading in their direction, right? It is what's left of the Care Bears now moving in. As we can see, Jarid also trying to find a bit of an angle here. But Puppeteers now up towards that northern side. Yeah, this could be a really risky run.
Yeah, I think what Gods Reborn is getting the opportunity to do here is kind of utilize that exact same strategy that we were talking about in match 1, where when you've got that much of zone being occupied by water, you just get that coastal line and you do not necessarily need to be overly concerned about your backside. Granted, that's not to discredit the possibility of a team taking a boat, but it does mean that you can be a little bit less focused about maybe being taken out from behind. You really have 3 more sides that you just need to focus on at a stage like that. So I do agree with what you said. I think Gods Reborn and Care Bears both had a pretty good idea in implementing that 3-corner look strategy.
Yeah, and of course, we do see the clips by Chicks now moving into Impala as well. So, I mean, that might be a glorious position, but I think it could potentially be a little bit short-lived, right? We are going to be keeping an eye on that feed to see what exactly is going to unfold. But in the meantime, towards the western side, of course, the players here from straight out of Nepal, they have a bit of an opportunity here on towards Bomba, but not moving in just yet. Instead, trying to do their due diligence. They don't want to move in blindly.
Yeah. And Skills of Mine, boy, talk about having a rough go at it. Bomba, there was no shot at that point. After he's taken down, Sunmin had all the time in the world to acquire that thirst with nothing to worry about.
Yeah, well, that is them down to only JP, just on the very, very edge of zone. We can see Trixie Boy also now just trying to keep up that contention, right? Going toe-to-toe now with the old gangsters, but still a very, very challenging position to play in. Seeing that they are so spread out. But straight out Nepal, I mean, they are just looking so relaxed, right? Yes, they are down to only 3, but, it's not going to be worrying them just yet. Now, as we look over on towards Pistol here, it is a little bit of a battling position.
Yeah, they're not overly worried about being a 3-piece. Guys, if anything can be a case in point, we have, the clips by Chicks who did enter round 1 as a 3-piece and still took that dub with an extreme lead in damage and kills. So yeah, 3-piece can get the job done if need be, but it is undeniable that you are up against a 4-piece outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned.
Yeah, and definitely. Speaking about being outgunned, right? This could be what is, about to happen for Pistols. We can see the 2 remaining hopefuls here for Skills of Mine setting up. Up comes that nade. It is so close. Pistol a little bit slow with the reaction. Does that nade find it?
Whoa.
Yes. Off they go. Old gangsters getting eliminated.
Yeah, I'm really sort of surprised to see that because that nade seemed fairly undercooked to me, which means that the old gangsters probably had a little bit of time, Catchy probably had a little bit of time to move there. Maybe he was just a bit preoccupied, distracted or something, but either way, that nade cooks up and it works. Getting eyes on Strangers
nade,
BD.
right?
Oh, yeah, but boy, Strangers BD could be in a world of hurt here because they've got Puppeteer surrounding them on 3 sides, and we have talked about this strategy in multiple events, DK. This kind of, I like to think of it like a snake tactic where the team just splits up into individual groups and gets multiple angles here on a team and just closes in on them and constricts and constricts and constricts until Strangers has nowhere to go.
Yeah, really looking to eliminate that wiggle room, right? As we can see, we do have a few altercations now coming through here as well. It's going to be a nucleotide. Oh, trying to line it up towards the Gods Reborn. But it is going to be quite an interesting angle we see them fighting in, right? Quite a bit of elevation available to both teams. Now it's down to who can utilize the terrain best.
You know what? I would make I'd support your argument and take it even a step further. I'd say the name of the game for a lot of the portion of Miramar is just understanding the geography, knowing the good hills, the good divots, knowing where you can take that natural cover. Because in a map like Miramar, where compound cover can be few and far between, remember, this is an open desert. When you don't have those compounds afforded to you, that's when you really need to know the geography and know where you can get that cover. And look at Marioso of Nucleotide, just easy claps on Vortex with that UMP 45.
And that looks effortless coming through there on towards Assad. And I mean, what a great push that was from Nucleotide.
Yeah, Marioso there had a great angle, and he was just able to get his first 2 kills right in a span of maybe 40 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that's just absolutely insane.
Yeah. All the while, we got the Just team here. We got Jakun with a nice little overwatch position on 2 teams. He's got eyes on Skills of Mind and Straight Out in Nepal. However, both of those teams have a little bit of compound cover, which could make things a little bit more complicated for our boy Jakun here. But he sits ready and waiting with that Car 98 at the ready and quickly switches over to the M4, dealing out significant damage to So Min, taking him down to about half health.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good angle to hold. But I mean, I'm pretty sure So Min not going to be pushing out into that exact same position. Again, maybe we could hope for a little bit of an improvement. But Son Min, oh, that looks risky. Now quickly just swapping back over on towards that Scar L. But I'm loving the angles being held here. Of course, now Chills finds a great opportunity on towards Omega as they just come blazing on past.
Yeah, Chills did have a good line of sight there. Unfortunately for him, his shots were not quite hitting the mark. He got Kabir of Nucleotide in hot pursuit of Omega, and you can see why. Omega, very low on health, if I'm not mistaken here. Yes, this could be Kabir's opportunity to strike. It could be easy claps, and it is. Nicely done to Nucleotide as they acquire their 6th kill.
Yeah, absolutely great showing. But now we turn over to the Care Bears to see what they're going to be doing all the way down to the southern edge. And it's going to be Dari now to get hit on through. And now it turns to Jarid, the final hopeful, quickly trying to get that res in before we see that full-on Sen coming in.
But talk about utilizing the geography like we were just talking about. By the Care Bears only having 2 members on their team, I think that they chose the perfect positioning, because even with one of their members knocked, he is immediately behind a position of cover out of the line of sight of his opponents in Forsaken Gaming, and it's going to be a revive for sure.
Yeah, 100% agree with you on that one, but it's all going to come down to where the remaining teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated. As we have the Clips by Chicks now moving in on that western side, looking to find a bit of territory to call their own. They are going to be running into a little bit of contention, right? We do see the players there from Skills of Mind holding up alongside them, but up north, that is where a lot of the congestion is then also shared with that southern edge.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it does look like whatever remains of the Just team is gonna be dealing with numerous teams. They're gonna have Puppeteer and Straight Out in Nepal to worry about almost immediately. We got Forsaken Gaming still holding position here up against their 2-person opponents in the Care Bears. However, you know, what is the move here if you're lucky? Because the odds of you being able to acquire that thirst, even if you are going to get the knock, as he just learned, it's slim to none. So really, what are you doing in a position like that? You're depleting your ammo, they're depleting their ammo. You're depleting their armor, they're depleting your armor. And if you do so happen to get a knock on them, you're making it so they bleed out faster. But is that worth using your resources this extensively at only the half point in the game?
I mean, maybe if you've got quite a bit of resources, I could understand that strategy being played out. But I got to say, with limited resources, it's not the most ideal approach to be taking. And I mean, speaking about approaches, though, we are looking at Team Seal now, trying to encroach towards that zone, just inching the way forward with Habibi now on the front line.
Yeah, it does look like Habibi utilizing his own individual vehicle, but never straying too far from the path of his teammates. We got Venom here just trying to get healed up, and ooh, getting eyes on the Just team with a nice overwatch on Straight Out in Nepal. We see Ferrari firing away, unfortunately dealing out minimal damage, if any. And there's the caster curse. There's the caster curse. Straight Out in Nepal almost escaped, but then and there, clipped by Chicks, we have Fears of the Panthers coming in and just wrecking house. And that is going to be it for Straight Out in Nepal, it seems.
Yeah, but I mean, the skills of mine still trying to hold on to this compound, not quite secured within the zone. They have a little bit of distance to cover, but look at this. Clips by Chicks are going to be holding on strong, trying to keep the pressure up. Fears also just inching their way further and further closer to that zone to set up that initial anchor point, allowing a good rotational pathway then to come through.
Yeah, if your skills of mine, you're really kind of on the fence here because you are surrounded by the Clips by Chicks team. However, at this point, they're a two-piece. But then flip the script and remember what happened in round one, what they did with just a three-piece. So them being down to half their original team is not ruling them out by any means, and I guarantee you these participants know that.
Yeah, but we now need to see what Team Seal players are going to be doing as they are pushing forward. A bit of an opportunity here on towards Forsaken Gaming. Ooh, Habibi liking that off-angle approach. There's going to be Daddy to get knocked on down, but Bane with a beautiful position. A great leverage that they can have here.
Yeah, now here's the thing. Forsaken Gaming is clearly exercising a bit of a slower, patient approach here. They have got 0 kills on the board, but they still have all 4 of their members up. And guys, coming in-game on Miramar, having 4 members up is absolutely huge. It can make all the difference between life and death. And realistically, Forsaken Gaming still has about 10 or 11 minutes where they can get kills on the board. So I understand what they're doing. They're trying to let these numbers dwindle down, trying to secure some better placement here. But at the same time, as we did say in round 1, placement is not very likely going to be enough to get you advanced here. They are going to have to, at some point, get a little bit aggressive and utilize some kills.
Yeah, and of course, we are seeing the Clips by Chicks now getting taken out in that 9th position with 6 eliminations to their name. But looking down towards the southern side, right, I think the Care Bears really finding themselves in quite a pleasing positioning now. Of course, focusing their efforts towards the angles in the zone itself, as it has taken quite a bit of a shift all the way to that far northern side. But now, Team Seal Habibi about to be met with a bit of a nade. Black not really finding the most ideal angle just yet.
Yeah, it does seem that what's interesting about how the progression of this Miramar match is, if you think about it, realistically, the top 3 placing teams from round 1 did not even make it into that top 8 bracket here in round 2. And this just goes to be a case in point for our argument earlier. The difference in geography definitely does ensue a difference in strategy. What worked on Erangel is not necessarily the ticket for Miramar, and our participants learned that the hard way.
Yeah, our next team to fall is going to be Team Seal, but look at this. It could potentially be an angle now coming through here from Skills of Mind, lining it up with the undefined humans. Now, will those shots convert into knocks? Could they convert then into eliminations? Of course, now 5 and 9, 11 is going to be experiencing this first. Nope. And the utility so close, almost securing the knock.
Well, yeah, I said money at first and said, oh no, because I saw that bounce. But you know what? Even with that bounce, it still did a significant load of damage. And can Trixie capitalize off the momentum that he's got here? He's got him low, but he can't get the thirst. And it looks like 5911 is going to be able to get that first aid off just in the nick of time. Trixie Boy going to cloud himself, enshroud himself in a pool of smoke to try to pull a rotation, a nice little flank, and catch a surprise angle.
Look at the hits look coming through. Of course, our Puppeteer going to be perched on high towards the entire zone, right? Such an aggressive spray coming through here. Able to really leverage these angles. As we can see now, the players there from Forsaken feeling the brunt of that as the shots are lining up so phenomenally. And of course, that blue zone just going to be adding insult to injury.
Yeah, and it looks like both teams tried to implement a geography advantage there, and it looks like it just didn't quite work out for our boys in Forsaken Gaming. It looks like they ended up kind of catching the unlucky stick there. They were trying to line themselves up against the body of water, but their opponents had a high ground advantage, and that just did not work out ideally for them. But we can see Cold Pants, a Puppeteer, creeping his way closer and closer to the boys in Forsaken Gaming. Currently, as it stands, Puppeteer is the only team in zone, and one of their members has that mountainous region, that high ground advantage where he can overwatch the entire zone. As you can see, that's Boar with the Scar L dealing out damage to multiple teams, focusing on skills of mine, Trixie Boy, then reallocating his attention to the Care Bears.
Yeah, I mean, Borg can essentially just have their pick, right? So many great opportunities lying ahead of them. Of course, our next team to fall is going to be the Undefined Humans, but down to 4 teams we are. It is going to be Forsaken Gaming, still having a little bit of a tough time moving themselves closer to that zone, but I'm loving the approach coming through from Puppeteers, absolutely dominating positioning.
And what they did here is they solidified into a 2-group thing. They did a 2-2 split, which allows them a great advantage here in a zone this small, where they have got multiple angles on their opponents, and they can come and assist without risking their entire team all at once.
Oh, but there we go. Puppeteers now lining up the hits. Oh, it is going to be the end, as we can see the players there from Skills of Mind now having to pack up their bags and make their way on through to the lobby. Of course, Forsaken Gaming also now trying to pick up the pieces because he turned about to get eliminated. And it's only Forsaken Gaming standing between the Puppeteers and that winner chicken dinner.
Absolutely, and the Puppeteers have played this match beautifully. Look at their kills, 11 or 12 kills already on the board, and they didn't lose a single member in the process, and that leaves Forsaken Gaming in that kind of position where they just did not have any advantage, outnumbered, outmanned, and outgunned. Puppeteer came and just rained hellfire on them, and they came out with a very, very well-deserved victory. Almost, I mean, actually not almost, full-on matching the performance of Clips by Chicks in round 1. Puppeteer is going to be taking the dub. Round 2, 14 kills and almost 2,400 damage.
Yeah, I mean, that is an absolutely insane performance from Puppeteers, but just shows you know, the potential that these teams have. We saw quite a dominating performance yesterday, but today, a very surprising performance, right? We've not had that one particular team be as consistent, but I'm loving the fact that we have these continuous contenders rising for that winner chicken dinner.
I can't agree with you anymore, because as a spectator, as a viewer, as a fan, you don't want to see just a landslide victory. I mean, yeah, you expect certain teams to perform at elevated levels from time to time, but what happened here is perfect for us in terms of action and who can honestly advance, because our top 3 placing teams from round 1 didn't even make the bracket in round 2. That is going to start evening the playing field pretty considerably. And when you consider how close our top 2 teams were, you know, Strangers BD and Clips by Chicks in round 1, what is it going to mean when neither of them makes that top bracket here in round 2? It means that they have got so much riding here on round 3.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm loving the contention coming through. And I think it's all going to come down to that very last game to see who will be those teams to secure these really strong finishes. Because so far, I mean, it's still anyone's game.
Yeah, and guys, when we talk about the difference in strategy, the difference in geography, it could not be more polar opposite from this map. That Miramar, that's the open desert, but now we're taking things to that lush, condensed forest. Of course, I'm talking about Sandhawk. Now, what does that mean? It means we might be seeing some snaking. It means we might be seeing some heal strats. It means we are definitely going to be seeing a shift in strategy, and it also means some early on aggression just due to that small size of the map.
Yeah, so I think that is going to add quite a bit of excitement to see, right? So we've had our fair share of Erangel action. We've had now concluded our fair share of Murmur action, with Trixie Boy being our MVP of this match.
Yeah, look at that. Trixie Boy with 5 kills, 800 damage, and a decent amount of survival time. But now, let's take a comparison between the player of the match from round 1 to round 2, the difference in kills. And that just goes to show how different of a map Miramar really is. It is a lot more closely contended than Erangel was for us in match 1. And that is pretty impressive to see. Player of the match only leading the board with 5 kills. When you think about it, that is a fairly strong performance nonetheless. But to take that kind of a lead with only 5 kills is definitely a pretty big separation from round 1. But guys, the MVT is not going to go to Skills of Mind at all. It's going to go to our gold medal winners for round 2. Puppeteer is going to take it with 14 kills and 2,400 damage. That means a lot. That means they're not just dealing out aggression pretty much the entirety of the match. It means that they almost, you know, for everyone that they knocked, they've almost knocked 2 people for every kill.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty insane to look at, though. I mean, a really healthy amount of damage being dealt there. I gotta say, those assists also looking absolutely phenomenal, just to strengthen the overall position with those eliminations. So pretty sure that is I think that's a 29-pointer that they secured in that game. So close to blessing us with that 30 bomb. But of course, we need to take a look at our top 4 teams here.
Yeah, and this is going to be the damage meter. Now, of course, in the lead should be no surprise. We see Puppeteer with a huge lead in terms of damage. But then coming in second behind them, about 1,000 points, over 1,000 points actually, behind, it's going to be the Nucleotide Vendetta, followed by Clips by Chicks and Forsaken Gaming.
Yeah, but still some pretty impressive numbers. You can see a really good conversion rate, especially coming through there for Forsaken and Clips by Chicks, which is no surprise looking at the sheer aggression Clips by Chicks showed over in towards match 1. But I'm also loving the fact that, you know, Puppeteers just absolutely doubled down on the efforts. And now, of course, we are going to be taking a quick look at that head-to-head just to see where these teams are based on their performance coming through on Miramar.
Yeah, now this is a great, you know, head-to-head to look at here, just because of how Clips by Chicks performed in round 1. But in comparison to a map like Miramar, Puppeteer dominated the playing field. A huge lead over Clips by Chicks, over double their kill count, way over double their damage count, triple their assist count, triple their nades, double their headshots, and triple the knockouts. This is not a contest between these two teams on their performance in this match. However, if you were to take Puppeteer's performance in round 2 compared to Clips by Chicks in round 1, now that's a close one. But guys, as the overall ranking sets in, look at this. Puppeteer has assumed the lead with a 2-point gap between themselves and Clips by Chicks. And Clips by Chicks with only a 2-point lead over Forsaken Gaming. This top 3 bracket is close. Only 4 points separate them.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to make for a very exciting final match to come on through. I'm also going to say, though, I mean, Strangers BD, right, still going to be holding on to that 4th place, regardless of what their performance was. We know that they were, of course, able to secure themselves that first winner chicken dinner, sitting so close up into 2nd, but Clips by Chicks and Forsaken still holding up a very contentious position here.
And honestly, if you're the Just team, you know, you've entered yourself into a much better bracket here. That 5th place position is comfortable at the moment, but as you go into this last match with everything on the line, you know, the Just team has to be feeling a bit nervous. It's a make or break situation. But guys, only time will tell who's going to take the dub and who's going to advance, who's going to be our top 8 teams moving forward to the finals. Guys, this is the Campus Championship for PUBG Mobile. This is our Day 2 Group B qualifiers, semifinals, and then we're going to be back at you in just a few short minutes. Stick around. We'll be back soon.
Tell me what you wanna do now. Get close to me. Feel the rhythm. Move your body. Tonight. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me. Tell me what you wanna do now. Get close to me. love me. Love me. Love me. Love me. Love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, love me.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we did not leave you hanging for too long at all. Just a few short moments away from our third and our final match of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship semifinals for Group B. Now, my main man, DK, what are your thoughts as we head into this final match?
Oh, I think it's going to come down to our top three, right? I mean, I think it's going to be quite a bit of a fight to see who will be the one to lock in that winner chicken dinner. I mean, Puppeteers locking in such a phenomenal performance in this last Miramar. But then also, we know, right? Those were chicks, they showed up in match number 1. So, yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere in there. And of course, also, we've got Strangers DB in the mix as well. So, it's going to be a pretty tough play coming in.
Yeah, honestly, it's not just about being in the top 8 and advancing. It's also about the message that you send out to other teams. There's definitely a pride factor involved in this for these participants. And as we enter our third and our final match, as we have said throughout the entirety of this event, these guys are going to have to adapt. They're going to have to change up their strategy because Sandhawk is the polar opposite of Miramar. Whereas Miramar is open and huge and vast, Sandhawk is lush and condensed and just absolutely confrontational. This is a very aggressive map. And what do we need to say about this map in general? Technically, it's the smallest map that we have in the esports version of PUBG Mobile. I guess if you exclude how they brought in Livik recently. But if, excluding Livik and Karakin and Nusa, this is the smallest map we got, meaning that the odds of two teams landing next to each other is just going to be exponentially higher. But as we said, it's the most condensed map, meaning most lush in vegetation. There's more natural cover to take, more grass to hide inside, and trees and boulders to hide behind. So you need to be alert for a higher than average number of snakes than usual. But the third thing I want to say is that this map is so small that the flight path is pretty much inconsequential, meaning that you can get anywhere you want just by deploying your chute early enough. And as you can see, we've got members of the Puppeteer dropping alongside Clips by Chicks, going for a very aggressive start as they drop in at boot camp. Let's get into the action.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said, oh shoot, right, as they made their way on in, but it is going to be right down to the aggression as it is that knock already secured onto his Puppeteers. Oh! Coops getting taken down, but Feng also then having to pay the toll.
Yeah, 24K, talking about being at the right place, the right time, with the right gun. That DBS is one shot when you're that close, and boy, oh boy, it just saved Coops, and that could absolutely mean a change in turnout. If Coops was taken out early on in game, it could have changed the board for everyone, potentially. But here's Fears being knocked and taken out immediately by Nulls. What just happened? That means that Clips by Chicks just got caster cursed by me, leaving everything riding on 24K and Coops. But boy, oh boy, as we said it last round, you know, and in round 1, these guys are kind of an all-star lineup. So even though you've already got them down to half their starting lineup, you cannot rule them out.
100% agree with you on that one. And now it's all going to come down to who will be able to maintain control of Lobster Building. And it is going to be a little bit of a risky play, right? Nulls now down below on the ground floor. Boar has been rezzed on through. Now, Coldpans, there to provide that assistance. But I mean, as you've said already, right? Clips by Chicks, definitely not a team to discount at this point. Even though they've already been able to secure that first elimination, it could still maybe see a little bit of magic happening right here.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, when you look at this, it's a 2v3, and that is still a risky fight when you are going up against the likes of Coops and 24K. And I guarantee you, Puppeteer is aware of the reputation of these two players. They know about what they are up against, and you can see them exercising extreme caution.
Yeah, and I mean it's rightly so. I mean, I wouldn't want to push up against 24K and Coops, but I mean there's a reason for that. There's a reason why I'm sitting here and I'm not down there busy playing. So it's all going to come down to what the Puppeteers have in store for us. I mean, two of the super contentious teams already in those first two games now finding each other right up in boot camp.
I was just about to say, this is our top two front runners having at it in the beginning of round 3. Talk about what could change the playing field for everybody. And honestly, a 3v2, and these two teams have put up almost dead on equally impressive performances. Clips by Chicks in the Erangel match, absolutely dominating with almost 2,400 damage. And then we switch the script, Puppeteers with almost 2,400 damage in round 2, both putting up almost dead on equal performances. But here we go, and there it is, that DBS, the one-shot monster, and Coops doing what Coops does. Oh my goodness, he got two, but Cold Pants coming in to serve out revenge cold and fast with a DBS of his own. Switching quickly over to that UMP45 and utilizing that punch glitch to mute his footsteps.
I mean, quite a bit of action already, but now, you know, a little bit of a pressure play coming through here for 24K, trying to just secure that doorway. Up comes the rush. Oh, they get it.
Yeah, and the Clips by Chicks, case and point, even if it is down to just 2 people, ooh, those are not the 2 you want to be up against. Well, guys, interestingly enough, we have a little bit of a spread here on the map, and now, while admittedly it's to be least expected on Sandhawk, it does still happen fairly often. And now, what do we mean? What does that entail? The exact same thing as it entailed for the first 2 matches, a more action-packed in-game. And boy, oh boy, when you talk about getting a lot of teams for an ending Sandhawk game, that is where you can't even cover all the fights all at once. But on top of that, I am curious to see which teams are going to be trying to hang out in that dead zone with an abundance of first aids and letting those numbers dwindle down. I am, of course, speaking about the PUBG Mobile Sandhawk infamous heal strat.
Yeah, I mean, strange enough, we didn't see that really being utilized yesterday, right? The teams being pretty consistent with securing themselves within that zone. But who knows, right? We could maybe have a little bit of that come through today. But I'm also loving that little bit of contention in towards Trifecta, all right? All really close to Trifecta. You can see the undefined humans holding up alongside the players then coming through from the Forsaken team, and then sharing that position with the players there from Team Aces Esports. So loving that kind of triangle of doom that could come into play.
Yeah, I always like to call those the infamous love triangles. And honestly, I do think you're correct. I think it is about to amount to at least some form of confrontation. But getting eyes here on Skills of Mine, Trixie Boy with absolute caution as he is utilizing that punch glitch with nobody around him, but he does not know that for sure. And he is just saying, I'm rather play safe than sorry. So you know what? While they do have that glitch in the game, he's going to utilize it.
Yeah, doing that due diligence, right? But now, Forsaken taking a bit of an elevated angle. I mean, this could really just serve them so much justice. A little bit of a bait. I'm not quite sure if that is what Payne is trying to do. It could be quite a risky play, but in the meantime, we are seeing Minato lining up those hits down below, as it is going to be the undefined humans. And of course, the players there from Team Aces getting right down to business.
Oh man, Minato wasting no time as he wrecks into 59-11. And look, his teammate, D2E, ready to carry on the team name. And here they goes, trying to get a little bit of a placement here. Maybe if I were him, I would be thinking the name of the game is try to get away from the likes of Team Aces and Forsaken Gaming. Forsaken Gaming in an interesting position where they had a nice Overwatch position over their opponents in Team Aces. But as you can see, Lucky has been knocked.
Yeah, I don't know if that is lucky for them, but either which way, it's all going to come down to how these positions will now get to play on out. I mean, Psycho, Minato trying to bring a little bit of that continuation through. I mean, I'm loving the angle also then still being utilized there by Forsaken, right? That elevation doing them quite a few favors here, but the trees kind of maybe stopping them from finding those more opportune approaches.
And this is, I mean, exactly what we were talking about. This map is going to afford a lot of natural cover here. And so even though this map is hugely abundant in compounds, even if you don't have that compound cover, there's always hope. There's always something to find to get a little bit of cover to at least disguise yourself and camouflage yourself in the grass at the least.
Well, I mean, this is a Sanok after all, right? You got to snake it till you make it. And now, Minato and the rest of the players here from Team Aces are maybe going to be looking to maybe train their eyes and their targets elsewhere. That could, of course, create a beautiful opportunity now for Forsaken to come in and just send in those nades as Flake and Minato go down.
Yep, this is going to change the tides here. But honestly, unidentified humans, D2, realistically in a very uncomfortable position. Even though the attention's not yet on him, he couldn't potentially have the opportunity to just exit out the other end of the compound and maybe even escape, while Forsaken Gaming focuses on the likes of Team Aces.
Oh, gotta love it though, gotta love it. And now it is a turn to see what they can do here. Of course, Star Moy going to be holding a steady angle alongside that rock, trying to now cover as many angles as they can. But Forsaken not going to be backing off. Instead, they are going to be doubling down on the aggression. Now really starting to encircle our last remaining hope here for the side of Team Aces. And this is where it's all come down to that trigger.
Yeah, and I really feel for Flake there, because Moy was just on the other side of that boulder, just 3 feet away, and just maybe 1 or 2 more crawling steps was all that was going to take to get him the cover. But Forsaken Gaming does not afford them that luxury, and they are just coming in, guns a-blazing. 4 kills to their name and still a full 4-person squad. Moy could be in big trouble here with very little health, and case and point, that is going to be it for Team Aces, eliminated in 11th place.
Yeah, good showing going through there for Forsaken. But now we are going to be waiting in anticipation to see where this next zone is going to be forcing these teams to rotate. Again, we're not really seeing any utilization of the blue zone coming through. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit early to have it happen right now. But I guess it's never too early for that blue zone heal strat. Instead, we are going to be hoping for a little bit of a surprise. Well, I mean, not too much of a surprise, but still, Clips by Chick's going to be holding onto that boot camp position, and they can afford to stay there a little while longer.
You know what I'm noticing is, see, we're entering about halfway through the 10-minute mark here, and we are already at one of the concluding zones. So these zones have absolutely been sped up, and with a sped up zone means the damage from the zone is probably as potentially boosted as well. And so that could be a very distinguishing factor in the fact that we do not see a lot of the heal strap being utilized. However, we still have Straight Outta Nepal riding that edge zone, but if you can see their inventory, they are not storing up an abundance of first aids. It looks like we are going to have everyone playing the natural way, working their way into zone and facing off for the final finale here of day 2, Group B.
Yeah.
This is the very last bit. One match, literally 10 minutes, maybe 9 minutes left to prove your point, to make your mark, and to get in that advancing bracket.
Yeah, and of course, we do have a little bit of that spray now trying to get sent across the Straight Outta Nepal, instead opting for a much further down south approach. I mean, opting for that bridge towards Camp Charlie, this could cost them quite dearly all the way out in this blue zone. But if they are able to secure this rotation, it could actually be quite favorable for them. I think it's all going to come down to, you know, what that RNG really has in store for their approach. But looking at the zone, still quite challenging.
Yeah, when I think about an in-game Sandhawk match, I always think about the late rotations. And what do I mean by that? I mean that kind of specific to Sandhawk, there is a situation where when it gets down to that last final zone, it's not always about who makes it into that zone first. A lot of times, you know, that can leave you in a point of vulnerability where you are surrounded by numerous teams and enemies. So yes, in general, getting early positioning in zone does seem to be advantageous for a lot of the participants. However, given this zone, and the way things are playing out, it might just not unfold that way.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait and see exactly whether or not things are going to be unraveling or are just going to be unfolding, right? But again, good position being held here by the Care Bears. I mean, very, very centralized. Look at the players there from the Just team just to the edge. But also then, right, the Strangers BD team going to be potentially trying to play a bit of an angle towards the Gods Reborn as they are also trying to inch their way on forward. But I love what Daryl is doing as well, right? To just maybe firing a few hits towards boot camps to see what the response then will be come through from 24K and Coops.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. And the reason for that is exactly what I said last match. With the Clips by Chicks boys having that much compound cover in boot camp, I don't see a very likely opportunity for Daryl to be able to acquire a thirst. A knock, sure, but if he's knocking somebody who's already in a compound, they're going to fall out of the line of sight of that window. And yeah, so is it worth taking that fight early on? In my opinion, in this situation, I don't think it is.
Well, I mean, I gotta say though, looking at where the zone has now moved towards, seems like Nucleotide could have quite a formidable angle, right? They've got those compounds, they've got the elevation. We know over towards the western side, it is pretty much right there at water level. A very similar kind of positioning being held towards that eastern side. So I think it is going to be a little bit of that war of attrition now coming through as the teams are really going to be having to fight for a good angle approaching the zone.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't hope for a more inopportune zone for the participants. With that much of this new zone being occupied by water, our participants are extremely limited in terms of real estate that they can claim. So that means, yeah, what I said about that late rotation into zone, it could still apply, but at the same time, with very little locations to acquire here, ooh, I think it might be in their best interest to try to go ahead and work their way in. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm riding the line. I'm still riding that line. Is that worth it in this zone?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because as we can see, there's so much water in here. And we did see, of course, a little bit of a plunge being taken there from the Care Bears. Taking that 2-2 split, one half moving into center zone. And that is kind of the only dry land in smack dab center zone. So I think it's going to be quite a bit of the edge fighting now coming through.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that tactic by the Care Bears, this 2-2 split, where Jer and Jaden occupy that central island there. And the reason I say that is because in the case that the new and final zone does favor that central island, that means everyone else on this playing board is going to have to get Michael Phelps-ish. They're going to have to get into swim mode. And if they do, oh my, the Care Bears can just shoot them like fish in a barrel.
Oh, yes, sir, indeed. But now, as we can see, it's going to be Jaden and Jared now just holding steady with JP, trying to find a bit of an approach. I'm loving all the J's towards that center zone. But here we have it, right? The players now from Forsaken Gaming trying to apply the pressure. They spotted out Bomba. And it's going to be Ox now moving in for a little bit of that reinforcement.
Yeah, and here you can see Forsaken Gaming is starting to utilize that more aggressive tactic we were talking about here. With 6 kills on the board, they still have 3 players up. Ooh, Team Seal having a bit of a rough go up against the Clips by Chicks boys. And we see 24K holding position in that warehouse. However, Venom does seem to be able to get over into the building here. However, by putting himself in this position to stick those revives, he is very vulnerable, as one nade could ruin everything.
Yeah, could definitely ruin the approach here. Oh, 24K getting taken down by Black. Beautiful hit right while they were in the air. But now going to be up to groups to show us what they're going to be bringing to the table. Waiting for a bit of an opportunity now, as we can see the players there from Team Seal trying to inch their way on forward, already suffering quite a few casualties, quite a few of those knocks coming in. But look at Strangers holding on to that elevation, still not moving out of contention.
You know what? I see you, Strangers. I know exactly what you're up to. They are leaving nothing to chance. They have been very, very patient throughout the entirety of this match. Why? Because they have a lot riding on this match. They have they're probably fairly comfortable in the line of advancing to the finals, but now it's about getting towards that top line, that very top bracket, the best of the best here. So they are saving all their eggs in the basket for the end game. And now look at Nucleotide being engaged upon by the Just team. Ooh, Avi and Chills are in a rough spot here, and this is what I was talking about for the Care Bears. Now the advantage is in their favor. While they have that central island, everyone else is just fish in a barrel. Chills already knocked. Ferrari taken down by Jaden. Skills of mine about to try to work. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said talk about a 2000 IQ play, right? So the Care Bears just reading that position so well, and again they get blessed by that zone positioning.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a gamble, but let's give them credit. They did not put all the eggs in that basket. Oh my goodness! Whoa! Jaden with a monster nade, extremely well placed, extremely well timed. It was perfect.
Oh.
You ever see those videos of fishermen going out and just throwing a stick of dynamite in the water, it exploding, and all those fish just rising to the top? I feel like that's what just happened.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. But now, I mean, this is sorting into such a difficult position. I mean, Skills of Mine still going to be holding on just to that very edge position. I mean, now literally getting caught on the rocks here. But look at the approach coming through from the players there from Strangers, right? Making that push in from that eastern side. Now, this could really look to disrupt a few things, but look at that turn. Finds the opportunity on towards JP.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like the Care Bears might have just ruined an opportunity there because they allowed Strangers BD to have 4 members swim up from behind, and now they are on the island where they outnumber the Care Bears, and that changes the tides drastically. If the Care Bears had just split up a little bit and covered both sides, who knows what could have happened? It could have already been the... Oh, no.
Wow.
Revenge just... absolutely wasted opportunity. However, his teammate Venom is not going to let that discourage him. They still have a lot of opportunity as a 3-piece with Flash God Venom and their other teammate Volt. Everything is still possible. They've already got 4 kills. Here we go. Venom makes use of that nade and boom, baby.
Oof.
Boom. Just a money nade. Jared getting wrecked.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of wrecking being done, and now Venom finds it on towards Jaden. Not done just yet. Instead, going to be pushing on super aggressively. Now trying to pick up all the Care Bears along the way.
Oh, talk about taking the leadership role come in-game. Venom with that heavy backpack, acquiring half of the team's overall kills in just a few moments. Ooh. However, it was not quite enough. And the Care Bears' location and early placement in that zone just too much to overcome. And now we find ourselves where it is almost game, set, match. Skills of Mine just trying to heal up, and we are seeing a little bit of that heal strat as Vortex, the last remaining member of Gods Reborn, just hangs out way out in that dead zone with what I'm assuming has to be a ton of first aids. And look at this, Mariosa from Nucleotide joining him in a heal off.
Yeah, as is Ox right now, just trying to hold on, but the blue zone gets the better. So Marioso, the only player standing between the Care Bears and that winner chicken dinner. But it's not done just yet, right? Marioso could still find the angle on towards the Care Bears, so they need to be super careful.
He could, but the ability to acquire 2 thirsts at that point would be a little difficult. But you're right, it is still very possible if they put themselves in that vulnerable position, but they have no reason to. They've got the compound covered, they've got the zone. In my eyes, this is the Care Bears victory.
Well, sorry, I said it was down to Marioso only, right? But we also still have Vortex, also still going to be just riding out the damage. I mean, I've actually seen it before where a team was the only one secured within the zone, and a play in the position here like we have for Marioso actually reaching in and claiming that winner chicken dinner, right? So
Well,
we have seen it, but the blue zone says no, and it is going to end the game right there with Care Bears picking up the winner chicken dinner.
well, that is a very, very well-deserved victory. And why? Because of that in-game 2-2 split. Two members of the Care Bears holding the coastline, holding that cliff edge, while the other two Care Bears get an early swimming point and claim that central island. And from the central island, just shooting everybody and cleaning house as they had to swim into zone with no way of defending themselves.
I mean, also they also we can see quite a bit of that being pretty evident right here, right? Those 11 eliminations and the 1,603 damage that they were able to find. So quite a satisfying performance then coming through from the Care Bears.
Yeah. Now let's give credit to where credit is due. Nucleotide did acquire that silver medal. However, they were not able to put up a single kill, and we say it time and time again, it's just not enough to ride or expect on placement alone to carry you forward. However, again, Nucleotide has been performing at a fairly comfortable level today, and they are probably going to be okay for the advancement. I think what they are doing in this case was just trying to leave nothing to chance. They were assuming that they're going to get high placement and not leave that up to circumstance.
I mean, you're still going to try everything that you have in your arsenal, of course. Now, speaking about trying, right, we have Jaden not having to try to be our MVP. Instead, they just are, with 648 damage being dealt alongside those 5 eliminations.
Yeah, and I mean, he did carry over half of the team's weight there, and not only that, but he did so in-game style. I mean, utilizing a lot of that damage towards the end of the match. So yes, I do like what the Care Bears did. I think that their strategy was perfectly implemented, and that dub is, in this case, very well deserved.
Yes, sir. And of course, we know right after our MVP, we are going to be taking a look to see who our MVP is, right? Our most valued team. And of course, it's none other than the Care Bears, right? They continue to hold on to that absolutely insane position.
Yeah, 11 kills, nothing to wag your finger at. 1,600 damage. Yeah, so they were dealing out pretty heavy aggression throughout the entirety of the match. And you gotta love that, because come the last match of a semifinal qualifier, everything all on the line, the pressure is at a peak, and the Care Bears performed perfectly under that pressure.
Yeah, so I think it's all going to come down to what those overall rankings are going to be looking like, right? To see exactly where the Care Bears will be finishing. But as we know, that is going to be 26 points awarded to them. But first up, we are going to be taking a look at our top 4 teams, right? It's going to be Care Bears, who we've already taken quite a good look at. But then we've got Forsaken Gaming coming in there with nearly 1,300 damage. But Clips by Chicks still rocking out with 1,700 damage.
Yeah, it's just impossible to deny. Clips by Chicks has been in the top 4 damage bracket for each match today, and deservingly so. They are a very aggressive team, and they do seek that confrontation. When they dropped at the beginning of this match, they dropped boot camp, and they did so knowing full well that they were heading towards a confrontation. And I see this from a lot of the heavyweights in that tier 1 community is dropping at the hot spots, the Pmccs, the boot camps, and just letting everyone know, if you want the smoke, we're going to be here to get it.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking about getting it, right, we now can take a little bit of a better look to see what that damage elimination distribution is. I mean, we are seeing a very top-heavy approach coming through in this last Sanok, but I mean, that's no surprise looking at the difficulty of what that zone brought through for our teams.
Yeah, this is what I love about PUBG Mobile, is you can play the same map 50 times, and that zone is always going to bring something new, something different. And this was a case where geographical location meant everything. Having that central island gave the Care Bears a unbelievably huge advantage for a brief window, and they utilized it. They did so knowing that they were putting a serious gamble on it. They knew that there's you know, as well of a likelihood as that end zone could have gone to that final island, it also might not have. And they didn't put all the eggs in that basket. And that's why I give them credit for a very, very well-placed strategy. But guys, here it is. No more guessing games. Let's see. We got clips by Chicks taking the overall lead with 41 points. Trailing behind them, only 2 points behind, silver medal goes to Forsaken Gaming with 39. Puppeteer with a well-deserved bronze medal at 36. And the Care Bears did push all the way up to tie third place in terms of total points at 36. We got Strangers BD in 5th with 34. Nucleotide in 6th with 25. Now, let's just give credit to Nucleotide. They got that second place, but those no kills did make it a close call. They got 6th place out of the top 8 bracket, but you know what? Close is all you need sometimes. And you know what? In the Bible of Fast and the Furious, Vin Diesel says it doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning. And Nucleotide does escape by the hair on their chin. 7th place is going to go to Skills of Mind, also with 25. And oh my goodness, God's Reborn barely making the cut. If you are the Just team, you are cringing hard because 1 point was all that separated you from advancing to the finals. It is a tough blow, no matter how you look at it. But you know what? That's why we say it. Everything comes down to that last match very often. And sometimes that one extra kill, sometimes even that 30 seconds extra of survival time is all that it takes to become one of the advancing teams.
Yeah, Just team being the team just missing out on that top 8 position. But I gotta say, right, a very, very tough performance being shown here again today. So now comes the exciting part, right? Seeing our teams from Group A and Group B that are going to be meeting each other over into the finals. Based on what we've been seeing over these past 2 days, I think the finals are going to be super exciting. And I think we are going to be having quite a few interesting tactics now being displayed out on the battlefield.
Yeah, I think we can expect more of the same, but at an elevated level, because we are dealing with the best of the best, the cream of the crop. It's not just making it to the semifinals. These guys busted butts and worked their way up to become the top 16 teams in this event. And you know what? It's well-deservingly so. But having made it to that top bracket means top bracket expectations. And we are going to be expecting some seriously elevated gameplay come day after tomorrow when we kick off the finals.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a pretty hot and heated one. But I mean, I can't really wait to see Ace of Spades meet up against the players then from, you know, the Clips by Chicks that we just saw such a phenomenal performance. And what was scary to look at, right, is Clips by Chicks secured themselves pole position, but they weren't able to lock in that winner chicken dinner, right? Just doing that based off of points and consistency.
Yeah, their placement wasn't even that great in match 2 or 3. And they put in so much aggression, so much confidence, and just all-out bloodbath warfare. And somehow, just with that, the kills alone, they really rode that momentum. They got the first place in round 1, and they were able to ride that momentum moving forward. That confidence never bordered on too much cockiness, and I think we saw it play out very advantageously for them. But guys, it is going to go down to the moment of truth. We have our finalists, and only time will tell who is going to take home that $2,300 first place prize of that $8,000 prize pool. We got 16 teams, and 7 of these teams are going to get paid out handsomely. So guys, you can expect people have money on the mind. Only time will tell who's going to take home that dub as we move into our finals of the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship come Saturday. Guys, it's been an honor and a blessing getting to cast these for you. I'm Red Eyes. This is my main man, DK. And until day after tomorrow, we'll see you soon.